Hello, my name is Will, and this is Will to Read. I have a tripod now. I can do things at a distance. You can see things, lots of things, all of the stuff. Anyway, I've been watching a lot of Francophone BookTube lately because I've really been trying to work on improving my French, and one of the best ways to do that is to get exposure to people talking in French. I've found quite a few channels that I really enjoy, some of whom I will mention in this very video. The point of me bringing this up is that there's a challenge that most of them seem to be doing right now called the Pumpkin Autumn Challenge, and I thought it would be fun to join in and try to do it. The originator of the challenge is the channel Le Terrier de Guimus. I think I said that right? And some of the others that I've seen doing it are Encore une page, Le Livre de la Crypte, and Indy the Potato. If you speak French or are trying to learn it like myself, I'd highly recommend all of them. How this works is there are 4 themed menus with 3 or 4 subcategories. You can do just one menu or do a few from each. I will be doing one subcategory from each, with the exception of the first, for which I'll be doing 2 because I had to work in the book I'm in the middle of currently somehow. Up first, we have Automne Frisonnant, or Chilly Autumn. This is the menu I'll be taking 2 categories from. First, Gare. Gare à la main de gloire, or Beware. Beware of the hand of glory. This one is pretty broad. It seems like they're aiming at thrillers or more reality-grounded horror, but one of the things that they mention is the police. And while he's not a police officer, he's a private detective, a series of books that really puts me in the autumnal mood is Agatha Christie's Hercule Poirot mysteries, and I happen to be in the middle of The Hollow, also published as Murder After Hours. I really enjoy Christie generally, but I've always preferred the Poirot books to her other work. The Marple stories can be very fun, and I've enjoyed quite a few works inspired by them, but they've never really clicked with me in the way Poirot does. This particular book takes place at a peaceful holiday retreat, which doesn't stay peaceful for long. I'm about 80 pages in right now, and I've just gotten to the murder. Poirot hasn't shown up yet, but I've been enjoying the character development and the lead-up to the murder most foul. You get a real sense of the people going to this retreat and how they feel about one another. Next, we have Double Double Toil and Trouble. I live in the general geographic vicinity of Salem, Massachusetts, and it would be wrong to get into the autumnal mood without reading a book involving witches, so I'm going to be reading The Witches of Sixkill The Witch of Sixkill, singular, not plural, by R. Carl Largent. This novel is about a man who seems to want vengeance on everyone close to him, so he seeks out someone to help him, and he gets more than he bargains for. I haven't read this before, and I know nothing about R. Carl Largent, but it looks like a fun romp. I bumped into the bookshelf in between takes and the picture fell, so that's why if it looks like it's in a different position, it's because it probably is. Onward to the second menu, Automne Dossier de Vivre. I feel like I mispronounced that, or The Sweetness of Autumnal Living. I also might be slightly off on that translation. So we're off to a great start. The subcategory I'll be doing here is J'ai un dragon et j'hésiterai pas à faire feu, or I am a dragon and I won't hesitate to breathe fire. For this one, they suggest illustrated or animal-centered works, so I went with a book that is both. And it's one of my favorite memoir comics, and probably my favorite work by this artist. Junji Ito's cat diary, Yawn and Moo. This book is very funny. It's amazing seeing Junji Ito's horrific and super detailed art style be used to essentially draw a comic about cats and their silly antics. Very fun. It also helps that I will probably read it in an hour. Now, the third menu. Automne Enchanteur, or Enchanted Autumn. The subcategory I'll be doing here is La lunette de Pierre, c'est extra. Quand on veut voir c'est qui ne se voit pas. I'm honestly not sure what the first part says. But the second part, I believe, is when we want to see what cannot be seen. They suggest books around fairies or nature, so I picked The Darkest Part of the Woods by legendary horror writer Ramsey Campbell. I've been meaning to read this one for a bit, and it's about a moss that causes people to hallucinate, and it looks like it brings in Lovecraftian elements like cults and possibly elder gods. It looks like a very interesting and potentially contemplative book with layers, like an ogre. The last menu we have to look at is Automne de Mystère, or Autumn of Mysteries. I probably didn't need to translate that one, but you never know. The subcategory I'll be exploring here is Le Destin Perdu, or Lost Destinies. They suggest alternate history kind of stuff, but the book that came to mind for me is a nonfiction book about a potential future, and that is Post-Growth Living for an Alternative Hedonism by Kate Soper. This book basically looks at the challenges of climate change and how we need to cut back on particular practices, and says, hey, just because we have to cut back on things doesn't mean we can't still have a good time. Basically, to my understanding anyway, I haven't read it yet, it proposes changing what we view as pleasurable by moving away from activities rooted in environmental devastation and capitalism, and moving more toward sustainable pleasures, and, for lack of a better term, simpler pleasures. And that's my Pumpkin Autumn Challenge, TBR. The challenge lasts through the end of November, so I think I should definitely be able to stick to this list, but we'll see. I'm notoriously bad at sticking to TBRs after all. But before I wrap things up, I feel I need to give a bit of a channel update. The new semester started at the beginning of this month, and I'm taking 2 history courses, which means I'll be doing a lot of reading for those. I currently have to read this behemoth in a week. This means I'm going to be a bit less inclined to read for myself, and that I'm much busier now. Because of that, my output is going to be reduced. I've already been kind of doing this unintentionally, but I think I'm going to be moving to a once every other week schedule instead of a weekly schedule for releasing videos for now, and we'll see how that goes. For now, my name's Will. This has been Will to Read. Make sure to like, share, subscribe, comment, all the fun things. And with that, salut!